Ajay, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Some more news coming in. Imagery released by a Chinese firm suggests damage at a structure within India's Adampur Airbase, a site targeted by Pakistan. However, when cross-referenced with older imagery, the damage actually predates current incidents, and it's quite visible what the situation in March 2025 is as well. Thank God for satellite imagery today to counter what lies Pakistan has been peddling. Air Vice Marshal Kak back with us. Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kak, I want to understand from you, sir. It seems as though China has now entered the propaganda games with Pakistan, wherein Chinese firms are also, and Chinese media is now releasing more and more doctored images, fake images, making claims of severe damage to Indian air bases and to the Indian forces. But Air Vice Marshal Kak, are people really falling for this? And do you think India perhaps there needs to do, we need to do more of a job in terms of countering all of this fake news?
Absolutely. I think we need to certainly do more in our information and communication strategy. You're very right when, I'm sorry we had an interruption in our communication. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. The international media will play its role, and it will be always vulnerable to powers like China for all kinds of pressures. We have seen in the 5 days of the conflict so far that the joint Chinese-Pakistani mojo has been severely mauled. And one of the dimensions of the mojo was, I'm not questioning the independence of the media, international media, but one was quite surprised by the article in the Telegraph, which was clearly mischievous, because there was no evidence. It was only vaguely referring to sources and talking about the Air Force having run out of the battle because it suffered allegedly damages at the hands of the Pakistan Air Force. Now, this is classical disinformation. And as you rightly said, Devika, China will get into the game because that mojo has been exposed by the swift operation undertaken by the Indian Armed Forces, Indian Air Force in particular, with targeting the terror infrastructure. The planners and leaders of the terrorist attacks over the last 20 years or so, sitting in their homes, whether it is Muridke, whether it is Bawalpur, whether it's Sialkot, all that has been exposed for the whole world to see, and evidence has been provided. Regrettably, we are not getting any evidence, neither from the international media nor from China, or for that matter, Pakistan. That brings me to the second question. I think you raised 2 or 3 thoughtful questions.
Yes. Air Vice Marshal, I want to add to that question, sir. And I've just put out another imagery on our screens, which was presented in the press conference of a likely PL-15 air-to-air missile, which is of Chinese origin, procured by Pakistan. Air Vice Marshal, I want to take up that question with you. Firstly, on the point that we have evidence of downing a Pakistani Mirage. We have all the evidence in India, photographic and otherwise, that we've collected. No such evidence has come in from Pakistan. And despite that, we see international media, particularly American media agencies, have been very quick to cite anonymous US officials, French officials, in claiming that, yes, Indian jets have been downed. So, firstly, your perspective on that, sir.
That is the delicious irony of this all. PL-15 extended range or export variant, whichever variant you're talking about, it is carried by the J-10, which is a Chinese Air Force aircraft. It has a radar and PL-15 EV combo. And that is what Telegraph and Le Monde and Reuters, and now, as you said, American media, that is what the irony is. The biggest threat to the American Air Force, should there be a joust up in the Pacific, will be the PL-15. And how can the Americans say that the PL-15 has downed an Air Force aircraft. Secondly, we have seen the remnants of a PL-15 which is being demonstrated, in fact, in the recent press conference held just a couple of hours, less than an hour ago, a reference has been made to the remnants of a missile which failed to hit the target. So now in this disinformation war, which we have entered after the war is over, we will have more of this. So the need for us to be ahead of the curve in terms of giving credible, viable information, conveying it through credible means, so that the disinformation campaign of both China and Pakistan, and to an extent, I'm not a paranoid man in this, some elements of the international media which fall for the China-Pakistan disinformation campaign.
Okay, I wasn't able to take a question with Commodore Bhushan Devan earlier with us.